I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight for this Town of Archer Lodge work session meeting on this Monday, June the 15th, 2026, in these Jeffrey D. Barnes Council Chambers. At this time, I'll ask Councilman Jackson if he would please give our invocation.
Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the many blessings that we have. We do ask that you just watch over us and guide us in our deliberations. We ask that you watch over the people of our town and just put a hedge of protection around them and keep them in your good graces. We have some of our service members that are from North Carolina that are very deployable, that are on their way to the Middle East, and we just ask that you watch over their families and them and keep them safe and bring them back to us whole and intact. And I think with that, just remind us whose we are, and just give us the presence of mind and the wisdom to do things the best way we can for the town, and help us to remember whose we are, for sure. And give us peace and grace. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 2, public comment. Mr. Ben, do we have anybody signed up for public comment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Mr. Mobley. Or Mrs. Mobley.
Equal opportunity marriage. My name's Lou Ann Mobley, and I live in Archer Lodge, and I attend Discovery Church, which is on Covered Bridge Road. And last time that work was done off of Covered Bridge Road, I think there's repaving of the road to Helena subdivision, and everybody used our parking lot. And with all those big old, tractor trailers and stuff like that, it kind of messed it up. But they were kind enough to, when we said something to them, to, come over, and they gave us new gravel, which really helped a lot. But we were thinking, this is probably going to happen again, and we'd like to be able to find out who the contractor is going to be so we can talk to them ahead of time, work out an arrangement. So that's basically my comment.
Okay.
Okay.
We should be able to get that information. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Assist.
Thank you.
All right, there's no one else signed up. Moving along to item number 3, presentations. Item 3A, Mr. Jason Grantham. Share with us about speed limits.
All right, good evening.
Glad to have you back.
Thank you, sir. So you guys tasked us the last time that we spoke with performing a speed study and gathering some information. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. Oh, even better. Thank you. Love it. All right, so you guys have tasked us with performing a speed study. So just want to kind of generalize what you asked us to do. You wanted us to analyze existing roadway sections throughout the town of Archer's Lodge and to decide based on crash histories, roadway geometries, field conditions, and planned improvements if changes to existing speed limits are warranted, and to assist the town of Archer's Lodge in establishing consistency and clarity for your motorist. You guys tasked us with I think it was about 7 different roads, SR 1003 Buffalo Road, starting from the town hall, which is right here at SR 1702 Archers Lodge Road towards the northern municipal town limits. SR 1701 Wendell Road towards Archers Lodge Middle School, pretty much from the municipal limits at the bridge structure all the way back to town. 1700, which is Covered Bridge Road, that's from Buffalo Road to the eastern municipal limits. SR 1703 South Murphy Road from SR 1700 Covered Bridge Road to Archer Lodge municipal limits. SR 1705 Castleberry Road from 1700 Covered Bridge Road to the outermost municipal boundary. And then SR 1706 Loop Road from SR 1700 Covered Bridge to the municipal boundaries. You guys have also presented us a simplified speed map that was from your planning board. This was a map, I don't know if you can see what I've got at all, but this was what the existing speed maps are. And this was the focus areas that we chose to look at, that you guys asked us to look at, labeled A through F. All right, so your planning board had recommended that you wanted to try to simplify things, either 35 in town or 45 as you were leaving your core areas. All right, so based on what we've done, I'm going to go through each one of these rows and tell you what our findings were and give you our recommendations, and then at the end I'll give you a summary of what we feel is best and give you opportunity for questions. Starting with 1003 Buffalo Road, you guys, for your planning board, you recommended extending the 35-mile-an-hour zone beyond the current limits. So on Buffalo Road, that is a large sweeping curve right outside here, just beyond the 35 zone, and it transitions curb and gutter, stops at the first curve. The 35-mile-an-hour zone begins, and the conditions somewhat change. So that was a concern of ours. The 45-mile-an-hour zone extends all the way past what you've got here at this curve and goes all the way to the municipal boundaries. We noticed a few things. Archers Lodge municipal limit sign is bent, and it was behind the brush with low visibility, so that may be something the town will want to address. I know when we first spoke, I said I would bring out if there are missing signs or things of that nature that the town itself would like to address. The roadway had 9-foot 8-inch width lanes and has new 6-inch thermoplastic pavement markings. The 85th percentile of speed was 54 miles an hour in a posted 45 zone. We went just beyond this second curve. So clearly you guys have a speeding problem. Our recommendation at this time is no change on this road, and we recommend utilizing either the Johnston County Sheriff's Department or Highway Patrol to continue to help you with the speeding problem on this particular road. We are going to be fixing up some of our curb signage and vegetation removal around our signs. Again, I would recommend that you at least establish your town limits by, fixing up the town limit sign for that one. And Jason had asked me to be prepared to answer questions for driver feedback signs or alternatives, so I can answer that during the question portion as well. All right, so Wendell Road, you guys were requesting a 45-mile-per-hour speed limit and a 35-mile-an-hour school speed zone. This section has new asphalt pavement. At the time that we did our review, the final markings were not complete, and they had 4-inch painted markings, and we were anticipating the continuation of 6-inch pavement markings. Houses were set back pretty far off the road. The conditions changed compared to the previous 45 zone around the Riverdale Elementary coming up to Covered Bridge Road. This roadway section had 9-foot width lanes. The recent improvements, wanted to highlight that we've just done the bridge replacement just beyond the school, as well as a severed section here of Archer's Lodge Road and the upcoming Covered Bridge Road project. The 85th percentile of speed there was 55 miles per hour in a posted 55 mile an hour zone. That tells us that the speed limit is pretty appropriate. However, we do feel like it would be necessary due to the school that we would like to give you a 45, which is 10 miles below the posted speed limit, as a school speed zone. So that would be during isolated times of the day. So I'm going to be working with the school to grant that. That Archer's Lodge sign was present, so no need for change on that one. And we recommend, just continuation of speed enforcement on that roadway. Couple things that I've mentioned is the 6-inch pavement markings. That is a speed tool to help reduce speeds. So I'll bring that up again at the end. All right, next road was Covered Bridge Road. You guys are recommending a 35 mile per hour limit from the intersection at the existing light to extend to the curve, and 45 mile an hour beyond the curve to the municipal boundary. So the current condition is a 45 zone and then actually turns to a 35 zone, which is a little bit reversed. The 85th percentile was going 56 miles entering the 35 mile an hour zone, which tells you they're coming in hot. There was a missing 35 mile an hour sign leaving the town that we are going to have replaced. That one is also missing the Archer's Lodge town limit sign past Overlook Drive. That one has been missing since approximately 2012. The department would like to discuss with you guys the second curve and allow the construction project to make headway before we touch anything on Covered Bridge. But I do agree that at some point, because of the residential nature, that we would potentially look at some type of a 45 mile an hour. From the light through this first curve, there is no development whatsoever. I think there's a maybe a pump station that appeared to be under construction, but I don't know of any other construction. I mean, it's all field. So that would not coincide with a 35 zone. It would probably go closer to the 45, but I think we need to start the construction project and see how that's going to play out, and then we can tag along with that one. All right, South Murphy Road. You guys were recommending a 45 mile an hour speed limit for this roadway. That asphalt was old and faded, 4-inch pavement markings, 8.25 linear foot lane width, so it's very, very narrow. Rural and no development. The 85th percentile was 45 miles an hour coming out of a 35 mile an hour zone. So that was right there at Sandy Creek Drive, where you've already got curb warning signage. There's one new subdivision that we noted at Barefoot Ridge with one entrance. So right now we recommend keeping that one a 55 mile an hour zone just because there's no development at this time. We do recommend that we do some limbing of the trees in the curve entering the municipal boundary to increase sight distance of the town limit signage. So again, we recommend no change on this road, and we recommend continued speed enforcement because they're not even doing the 35 as you enter the housing development to the south. All right, Castleberry. You guys were recommending a 35 mile per hour zone from Covered Bridge Road intersection extending past the town park and then turning to a 45 mile per hour limit beyond the municipal limits. We want to work with the town, or we have been working with the town for pedestrian improvements. We can speak on that a little bit as well. 9-foot width lanes, pavement markings were in poor shape, so we do want to try to address that internally. Your 85th percentile of speed, now this was done right in front of the park, was 54 miles per hour, and it's currently posted at 55. Now, we've got some concerns for the pedestrian activities that we would like to continue working with you and figure out what we need to do to move that part forward. We're probably going to need some sort of connectivity. And we would like the opportunity to show the town an appropriate place to perhaps have them cross due to a blind hill and a curve where there's 2 new subdivisions that's been built. So we'd like to back them off of that curve for safety reasons. That would allow us a safer crossing outside of, the line of sight, that kind of thing. But we do feel like we need to grant a 45 mile an hour for this road. And this will require a municipal certificate, so we will be moving forward with that. And we chose to probably extend that through the extent of the park, because you guys, we want to support that community activity and the continued housing development through that area. And we can always extend that if the development goes beyond the park. So I think that would be a wise choice. The curves are currently signed appropriate, but like I said, it appears that the growth is continuing in that area. Okay. All right, Loop Road. You guys were recommending a 45 mile per hour limit for that roadway section. That roadway had 9.25 linear foot lanes, good pavement markings, 4 inches. Seemed to be a fairly wide road. Was unusual. It was 55 until you get to the outer limits and then change to 45 in the middle of the road. And then you had a dense stretch of population. And then the end of that has the Boyette Farms and a lot of agricultural. 85th percentile was 55 in the 55 zone. They clocked that around the mini storage location. We would recommend actually making the entire stretch of road 45. So that would match your recommendation, and I think that would help with the density there of the residents. All right, so the next steps and actions that we'll need to take. Obviously, we're going to take action on our part for the sign improvements and the vegetation around our sign. I will work with you guys to write municipal ordinances to repeal and replace the various sections for the 3 areas that we noted. I would like to speak to the town and see if you guys can help identify locations for driver feedback signs or areas of improvement. We would need an encroachment agreement to do any other driver feedback sign installations. And then, like I said, explore improvements with you guys for the pedestrian connectivity. We feel that we could extend sidewalk or something of that nature and then get you a ADA compliant curb ramp there at your town park. I think that's feasible. We would like to reserve the right just for Covered Bridge Road until we complete the Covered Bridge project. And part of that is primarily because that project is already underway. It's already gone through signal timing. I think there's 3 signals. And so if we adjust the speed limit now, that's going to affect the signal timing that's already been engineered. So we'd like to be able to do that after the fact, if possible. It'll make it smoother on our end. And then, of course, I'm going to be working with the school administration, Archers Lodge Middle, to go ahead and establish that for the school speed zone. All right, do y'all have any questions for me?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, very good, thorough study. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What is a driver feedback sign?
Okay, so a driver feedback sign is nothing more than it flashes at you. It says your speed is.
Okay, so it's kind of like speed limit 35 and you're going 45.
Pretty much. So
Okay.
it may flash at you and say, slow down, something of that nature, just giving you some driver feedback. And those we have used in several towns, and when used appropriately, they are helpful. Because a lot of people, when they see them in advance, they're like, oh God, I didn't mean to be driving 45 or whatever. So we usually tell people, put those at the extreme ends as you're coming into the zone. So like you have one out here that is literally right in front of your town hall here. The zone changes, right here middle of the curve. You may want to put that around the curve. That would be a better location to get them to slow down prior to,
Being in the zone.
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Mayor Council, that was just a follow-up to one of your comments that you had at a prior meeting, that, we were talking in a prior budget meeting about getting an additional speed enforcement radar unit, and the council encouraged staff to look at other opportunities to place a smaller sign on existing signage. And so we went ahead and had a brief conversation with DOT about that. They did inform us that, I believe that, some towns, maybe in the past and in other areas, assumed that they had the right to place those signs. We do want to do things the right way and go through the encouragement process to get approval from DOT and coordinate with them instead of just putting them out there. Jason, I believe if we decide to move forward, that cost would be incurred by the town, is that
Yes.
correct? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I remember that conversation.
Yeah.
It was just the driver feedback notation. I've always just called it, the radar.
I get it,
The
I
speed
get
limit
it.
radar check. So that was
Yeah.
what was
So
confusing
one thing
me.
that towns have done in the past, they have put them on poles that they own, like power poles. That's one option, I think the town of Smithfield, they just did it coming into their downtown region.
Right. Unfortunately, we don't have
I get
town
it.
poles since we don't have an electric utility.
And that's okay. So
Yeah.
they sell an option that is a
Right.
solar-powered option. We would just state that you don't put it on our speed limit sign, that you have it on its freestanding pole, that kind of thing. And it's a simple process. We can get you an encroachment agreement on that, tell you where it's appropriate to put that.
Perfect.
That way you can have some guidance.
Is it appropriate to put that before the sign or after the sign or depends?
Obviously, you would want them, prior to a zone that you want them to slow down.
Gotcha, okay.
Like several of our instances is showing 10 miles per hour above a posted speed limit. And that was consistent. So it's not just isolated to one road or another. Driver's going to drive by feel a lot of times. So if it's open, new asphalt and wide open, pedal to the metal.
And Jason, you typically see these as a permanent fixture, these smaller ones?
A lot of towns do those, yes. And that's just one tool. So when I mentioned that I've come back to some other tools, we use tools internally such as the snow plowable markers. Those help delineate the roadways. We use 6-inch markings in lieu of 4-inch sometimes, mainly in front of schools, mainly on NC routes, primary routes, things of that nature. Boulder lines are a tool to help narrow the lane and usually helps slow the drivers in some capacity.
Thank you.
Other areas, when you start talking curb and gutter, we've got design criteria that usually you don't go above 45 miles an hour with curb and gutter. So if the town ever extended sidewalks and curb and gutter and things of that nature, we would certainly want to consider that as something, because you're changing the nature of the road.
And let me ask you, because I know we had talked in the past too about the town speed limit, 35 miles per hour unless noted otherwise. Do y'all
Yes.
provide those, or is that something that has a value?
We haven't, I don't know that we have posted those in years. I won't say it's a thing of the past, but the main thing is establishing where the town limit is. So if they don't know that they're even in the town limit, it's a general statute. Actually looked it up the other day. I think it was 1972.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, man, that thing's been around a long time and nobody knows about it. But it's supposed to be understood that if you've crossed a municipal boundary, and those move all the time, that it's 35 unless otherwise posted. And so if they don't know that they've entered your town, like Cover Bridge Road, that sign's been gone since 2012. How do they even know they're in a 35 zone?
So really, it's more important to make sure the town limit signs are up, not
It
unless
is.
posted otherwise sign.
It
Okay.
is. Yep.
With the speed study, did y'all do a traffic count also?
Well, part of that, I did actually look at traffic counts, if that's helpful.
Could you tell me the traffic count for Murphy Road and Cover Bridge? Intersection that y'all did?
Okay, so all I did, we did not actually count cars physically.
Gotcha.
I used the 2024 AADT, so Covered Bridge Road was 4,900 vehicles a day. And you said Murphy had 4,100 vehicles per day.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Jason, one thing that we were looking at is like on Castleberry Road,
Yes, sir.
there's like 5 different speed limits on that road. And I was wanting to put a driveway with like a storage facility out back, but the speed limit, and I live, two of those yellow signs that curve, in the curve down there are on my, well, not on my property, but on the right of way.
Sure.
In front of my house.
Sure.
But I had to have 1,100 feet, I think, John, right, what we said that day? We looked at putting a road back down there to where I was gonna do the storage. But I had to have 1,100 feet clear to be able to put that road there. But it's a 55 mile an hour speed limit, so that made it the 1,100.
Right.
But there's 5 different speed limits.
I understand
on
that.
Castleberry Road, and that's what that's the reason we were looking at maybe just.
Sure.
Citywide, you know.
And when I go to do these municipal ordinances, I'm going to try to adjust some of that. I mean, this is just a broad, generalized, what we're going to try. I want to be very clear. I'll tell you, just like I tell developers, I'm not going to change the rules and the regulations to accommodate anybody's turn lane, driveway, not going to do it. Because ultimately, we would rather have more distance to stop for safety, you know, than bend a rule so you can squeeze in a turn lane. So that part doesn't bother me as much. I mean, sight distance is one thing. You know, we can certainly address things of that nature with other tools, you know, clearing vegetation, things of that nature. But we want to right-size the speed limit, because if we put a speed limit that's not justified, the data has already shown you, they're going to drive 10 miles over a posted speed limit. So you could put 5,000 no parking signs, 5,000 speed limit signs. What's going to stop it then? And then you come back to me and say, well, what can we do to help? You know, the rule is going to be enforcement of an established law. And I try to take an eased approach, is kind of easing into this thing, and we'll make slow adjustments as needed. I think that will smooth over well with your public. If people kind of use common sense and they say, well, you know what, this makes sense. We're going to lower the speed limit at a town park, at a school, at a justified location, they tend to obey the law much better. But if I tell you don't touch the hot stove, you know, well, let me try it. Maybe it's not so hot. And that's the thing. We don't have enough law enforcement to constantly stay in isolated locations. We know that. So we want to right-size the road to best serve the public.
Just got one more question.
Sure.
Who can residents reach out to if they're having issues with line of sight out of their driveways and stuff like vegetation, overgrown vegetation and stuff like that?
Sure. They can certainly submit in a contact us if they'd like to. A roadside environmental crew would be the best option to answer something like that. What's his name? Brian Adams, that's right. He is our roadside environmental engineer. They would send a crew out to take a look at that and see if any trimming is needed.
They can also contact me at town hall.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if they send it to us, I mean, we'll get it to the right place. I mean, we get it all the time. And that goes for y'all's vegetation that I was mentioning around your signs. If there's something that you guys can't handle and it's on the right of way, let me know and we'll help you.
Ben, could you send us that presentation? Thank you. Like I said, good job.
Thank
A lot
you.
of details.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you, guys.
All right, item 3B, presentation about the NCDOT Cover Bridge Road Widening Project. Mr. Addison Gainey.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm Addison Gainey. I'm the Division 4 Project Development Engineer. Thanks for the opportunity to come and speak about the Cover Bridge Road Widening Project. That'll be getting underway soon. I know most people have seen the utility activity going on along the road, but we're not far from breaking ground on that roadway construction. So, and feel free to stop me anytime you got a question. I kind of got the slides broken down by area of project. So if anything comes up, just make sure I see you. Okay, so general project overview. I know it was discussed earlier, so we'll be widening Cover Bridge Road to 3 lanes. The general typical section will have 1 travel lane in each direction and a flip-flop turn lane, or a continuous left turn lane, 2-way left turn lane from Helena Lane to Buffalo Road. That's about 1.5 miles. There will be new traffic signals installed on Cover Bridge Road at the realigned South Murphy Road and at Castleberry Road. And of course, the signal at Cover Bridge and Buffalo will remain. It'll just be expanded with additional turn lanes. Right-of-way acquisitions are complete. Utility relocations are ongoing, as we stated earlier. Construction, the date of availability for the contractor is September. So we are approximately 3 or 4 months from them beginning work, breaking ground. And the project bid for approximately $12.3 million construction. As I discussed earlier, this is kind of your project typical section. You can see the through lane in each direction. At various intersections, there'll be right turn lanes, and then the combined 2-way left turn lane in the center. The new lanes will be 12 feet wide, so much wider than what's there now. And the shoulders of the road will be 4 foot paved and 8 foot in total, and then the new ditch behind that. That's the majority of the project, but there is one section of the project, and this is from Archer's Lodge at Cover Bridge back to Buffalo Road, where the store is. On the if you're heading in that direction from Archer's Lodge Road to Buffalo Road, the left-hand side of the road will be curb and gutter with sidewalk behind it on that side. One that provides some sidewalk connectivity, or the start of some sidewalk connectivity. And that curb and gutter was mainly installed there due to the proximity of the houses. They're kind of up on a hill, and if we tried to cut a ditch into that hill, we would have really affected those residences. So it's curb and gutter on one side for that section of the project only. Some additional project details. We will be realigning Loop Road to improve safety and reduce the intersection skew at Cover Bridge Road. It comes in a pretty sharp angle today. That'll be brought in at a 90-degree angle. Again, I mentioned the traffic signals at Castleberry and Cover Bridge. We'll also be installing an emergency signal at the fire station. That'll be 2 red balls and a yellow flashing ball. When the fire station, they'll have a button that we will run cable to their fire station, and they'll install a button inside the fire bay. When the button is hit, that signal goes into a countdown, and it gives the fire trucks enough time for them to get loaded up, get out. By the time they're out to Cover Bridge Road, it's all red, and they don't have to worry about conflicts with vehicles not hearing the lights and sirens. So we'll be realigning South Murphy Road to create one signalized intersection at Cover Bridge, Archer's Lodge, and South Murphy. And then I discussed the curb and gutter and sidewalk along the north side of Cover Bridge on the previous slide. So I broke it down. These are really the pavement marking plans, but they show the laneage most clearly. So I kind of broke these down into project areas. This is the Loop Road area. So as you can see, Loop Road will come in at a 90-degree. It'll have a left and a right turn lane. And then, of course, Cover Bridge will have 3 lanes, as we discussed earlier. Castleberry, the star in the middle of the sheet, that denotes a traffic signal. So this will be a traffic signal. You can see this is one of the areas where there's a dedicated right turn lane off of Covered Bridge on to Castleberry. And then the left turn lanes, as we discussed earlier, off of Covered Bridge. And of course, Castleberry is a left and a right. This is the Nashville Aldine Drive area. You can see that there'll be right turn lanes into those subdivision drives. So that'll be in addition to the complete 3-lane section. This is the South Murphy Covered Bridge Road area. The sheet is rotated, so that's why it looks funny, but that's the way it fit best on the screen. So South Murphy is on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, and Covered Bridge is running diagonal across the screen. So you can see that there'll be a left turn lane at Chesney Court, which will continue into a left turn lane at the signal. Same thing at Archer's Lodge Road, left turn lane, right turn lane, and through lane. And again, the denotation of the traffic signal. One other point I want to make about the traffic signals, Jason touched on it earlier. These signals will be part of a closed system. So all 3 of these signals will work together through radio communication. So hopefully keep the traffic moving as best we can through this area. And then Buffalo Road, as I mentioned, that's a signal today, but of course the footprint will be expanded you can pretty much see we've got right turn lanes in 3 quadrants, the left turn lanes in all quadrants. So that intersection will be built out to handle the significant volumes that we now have in this area. Citizen asked earlier, construction information. I mentioned contractor can start in September. Right now, roadway construction is to be substantially complete in June of 2028. So that's per the contract. And the contractor is Carolina Sunrock LLC of Raleigh. Unfortunately, I do not have an individual contact for that just yet. We have not held the pre-construction meeting with the contractor yet. But once we know who the foreman or general superintendent for the job is, we can certainly share that with the town to be passed along. So no issues. We look forward to get starting with them.
One point I'll mention to you about that, the concern was where will they store equipment, things of that nature. Typically with a larger scale project, they're going to have a lay-down yard with a field office. So that will not be a problem because they'll actually have designated space that they've got to rejuvenate back to normal conditions. So they won't be generally using your driveways or anything like that.
Yeah, and I may not have understood the concern. I thought you meant people were maybe cutting through the church or something, but if it was just general equipment storage, no, on construction projects, we require the contractor to either use the existing road right-of-way, like maybe in that area of Loop Road where we're moving the road, or South Murphy. Those are good areas to lay down because we already own a huge swath of land and we're actually moving the road. That's generally what the contractor will use. If they need off right-of-way, they're required to secure it through an agreement with whatever private property owner they're using, and they come to terms with that private property owner. But we do make sure that they restore that in good faith upon completion of the project. Sorry, I didn't mean to misunderstand. So a big concern of the town was, and some of the citizens, and I got all those questions, and I've got a list here. I'm going to try to address some of those here at the end. But some of the general traffic management strategies we'll employ. So we set up the contract, and there is what's called an intermediate contract time, that within the first 60 days of work, so when that contractor shows up, within the first 60 days of work, the contractor is going to install temporary signals at Covered Bridge Road, on Covered Bridge Road at Castleberry and South Murphy. So hopefully to better manage traffic during construction, give people a chance to get in and out. We know that's a high volume, high accident area. Orange drums aren't necessarily going to make that better for a short period of time. Hopefully the addition of the temporary signals will make a big improvement there. We also include in the contract that the contractor cannot close or narrow lanes of traffic during those peak times. So 6 to 9 a.m. and 4 to 7 p.m. So basically your work rush hours, we do not allow them to narrow or close the lanes. So they can't be in a flagging operation, stop, slow paddle during those times. We also restrict around holidays. That's every project across the state. So, you know, we're not going to have them out there working on the 4th of July and Christmas and things like that. This project is set up to require no road closures. All work will be completed utilizing flagging operations. So there will be a lot of stop, slow paddle work. So for much of the day, every day, probably be down to one lane in each direction and a flagging operation. We put it in every contract. It's on the front page of all the TMP plans. The contractor is to maintain access to residences and businesses at all times. Of course, with a project like this, we have to replace a lot of folks' driveway tiles and things like that. And that'll be coordinated with each homeowner to make sure that we find the appropriate time. And if it requires the placement of a temporary driveway, that's what we end up doing. So for places with multiple driveways, typically we will always try to leave at least one driveway open. We may not be able to leave all of them open, but we will make sure that there's a minimum of one access to all residences and businesses at all times. Oh, I went too far. So, I didn't work it into the slides because these questions came in later. But I will address some of those now, if that's okay, David.
Please.
So I kind of summarized this list of questions that we got from the public from a survey that the town did, and we appreciate that. It helps us to know what questions people are asking, because that's a good response. That's an excellent response, actually. So we had one question, a recurring question about why not roundabouts instead of traffic signals. So just in general, the answers are cost and property impacts. So obviously a roundabout has a much larger footprint than these signalized intersections do. And there's houses all over the corridor. So you look at significant property impacts, not to mention a roundabout significantly more expensive. And this project was born out of safety funds. So it was a safety-based project. And those funds are not, they are capped. I mean, they are not unlimited, so to speak. So the traffic signals will also serve future growth. I think we're looking at our future traffic projections on Cover Bridge Road in 2040 are almost 18,000 or about 18,000 cars a day. In 2020, when we did the actual project count, we got 12,000 vehicles a day. So you're really starting to push the upper limits of a single lane roundabout when the side roads start bringing a lot of traffic in. So the signals will allow for better expansion in the future. Another common question, this was a great question, was left turn signals versus flashing yellow arrows. That was a common theme, right? People don't like the flashing yellow arrow because they can't find a gap. I got good news. This project has both options, right? In certain phases, people will get the flashing yellow arrow, but if that queue is not clear and the signal is still detecting vehicles there, it will go into a phase that gives a dedicated green arrow. So, you might have to wait through that flashing, but it will give you a dedicated green after that. And then, of course, I mentioned the signals will have radio communication. And then the fire station signal, of course, it's just red or not. Red, flashing yellow to go to red, or nothing. It's just blank. So, another question was, a common theme was where citizens ask about this project. I know it's been a long time ago, but we did hold a public meeting back in 2018 and have had some correspondence since then. The speed limit of this section, so the project is designed for a 45-mile-an-hour posting currently. So the signs that are included in the contract are 45-mile-per-hour speed limit signs. And of course, the signals are coordinated based off of that. I mentioned the future traffic. And then we had a separate recurring question was how are we going to notify the public of what's going on? So of course, on the project, we'll be using our signage and boards to let people know, one lane road ahead, or, you know, because there are no actual road closures and detours planned. As far as when construction will begin, there'll be a public press release put out by our communications office for all local news agencies to pick up and kind of spread the word. Of course, again, we'll have signage and boards out there as to what's going on. And of course, we'll communicate with the town. Town does a great job helping us get the message out. A lot of people look at the town website a lot more than they look at the DOT website. So that is big help to us. And then the other question I had, and I just address it to make sure we're closing all the loops. And I'll send you these afterwards, David, in case you want to disseminate answers. But we had a question about why was Archer's Lodge at Wendell Road closed quite a few times. I know that's not related to this project, but it's close by. So basically, there was significant injury accident history at that, and it was essentially all left turns from Archer's Lodge onto Wendell. Approximately 16 crashes in 10 years, but virtually all of them included injuries. So they were of the serious nature. And it's just that poor intersection geometry, and there's just not a lot you can do about it. So that's where that was born from. Also funded through safety funds. So again, I will send you these answers if you'd like to post them for these questions. And if there's one that I missed or didn't cover, just let me know. I'll try to get you as many answers as I can.
Very good, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So, a question, the awarded contract came in pretty significantly below what the predicted amount was, or the?
No, it wasn't. I think, I want to say the engineer's estimate, and don't quote me closely, but I think it was only in the 13 or 14 range. And they're at 12 something. So, and we had multiple bidders, so it was actually a very competitive bid.
Okay.
I believe we had 4 or 5 different bidders, so that's good turnout on a smaller roadway job. So that's good turnout.
Any more questions?
I just got one comment. I'm happy to hear about the temporary signals. I think that's going to bring a lot of relief.
Yeah, we understand. There's been a cry for those, for signals at those locations a long time. Unfortunately, with the way the existing road is, until the project came along, we really just did not have a way to fund those or get those put in. But we took this opportunity, coordinated with Kim, and we wrote this contract time to make sure that that's the first thing that goes in. So hopefully that gets us off on the right foot with the public, and they see those efforts being made.
That is going to be a great feature.
Mayor and council, I just want to add, again, thanks to DOT for their efforts. We, as Addison suggested, we want to continue to be a good partner with them to help spread the word. We've also talked with Eastwake TV about doing some video, even as construction continues, that they have some capabilities with drone that we can try to provide updates as construction continues. So look forward to a continued cooperative effort to help share information with the public.
David, I would also recommend Andrew Barksdale. He is our communications officer, especially if you're into drone videos and things of that nature. He loves doing stuff like that. Anything that we can do in conjunction, I'm sure they would eat it up.
Sounds good, thank you.
Like I said, Andrew does a phenomenal job getting those press releases out, but it is important for our partners to kind of spread the word, because sometimes we get ignored. I mean, we have a big website. It's not the first place people go look for information, but they do recognize the town information, and that's a huge help to us.
And with your questions, as I think was alluded to, we do plan to do a frequently asked question FAQ section in conjunction with our town website to include some of this information on the town website.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item number 4, old business. Item 4A, further discussion on the budget.
So thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity to revisit our discussions about the budget and further move those forward. So at the special call meeting last week, council provided some feedback in regard to the recommended budget and some requested changes. We have that information on the slide and in the agenda packet as well. Well, we shared it outside of the agenda. And I know we've got some comments from individual council members about that, some tweaking. So just want to go through that and, try to, as efficiently and effectively as possible, to move this discussion forward. So, Mayor, I don't know if you have any comments that you want as far as direction on how you want to proceed.
No, I mean, you've got them listed there, as you've mentioned. Those were emailed out, to council. And as to the notes that we had from the last meeting, were there anything that the council saw that they thought that was not accurate, or is what's presented there, does that meet what we had kind of come to a consensus on at the last meeting?
David, did you get my comments?
Yes, ma'am. So I got your comments as well as comments from another council member. So on the first bullet, benefits in general, reduce funding for the executive assistant function. There were comments about eliminating funding for the executive assistant that works one day each week, and hiring a person for a particular wage amount. What I wanted to try to do with that is kind of not focus on a position or an individual, but to get clarity as far as funding a certain number of hours per week. Currently, we've got 2 individuals that provide that executive assistant function. We budget up to about 24 hours a week between the 2 of them. I believe previously we had 20 hours per week, so we're looking at a difference of 4 hours per week. That provides us coverage for 6 hours a day, 4 days a week. So if council wants to reduce that for 24 hours, what I would suggest was, if there's a specific dollar amount in mind, or if there's hours in mind, certainly open to feedback. I would respectfully request that as town administrator, I'd be given the flexibility to, as is in my job description, to fulfill that function and staff that function accordingly, whether it's, one person or 2. I think there's certainly benefit to having some flexibility and having that split between 2 people. So that's my comments in regards to that bullet item.
Would those, if we did it with 2 people, would they be making the same salary? Because I know based on this, one was at 20 and one was at 23.
Let me request our human resource officer to help respond to that question. We've got existing employees, and again, I don't want to get into performance of a specific one, or I know there's some limitations on what's appropriate to discuss, so.
Right. So if they're going to be performing the very same duties, and they would come in at the very same time, then there would be no reason why there would be 2 different salaries. If your job description is going to be the very same.
And that's what I would think, so that's why I was curious why we've got $3 difference between the 2 salaries.
I think, again, this has been, a slight adjustment. We've had some differentiation between duties between the 2 individuals. I believe one was, at one point was, sometimes being put as a deputy town clerk, sometimes as executive assistant. So, there have been some differences in terminology. But I think at this point, Ms. Kim, I believe the intent is, correct me if I'm wrong, to classify both as executive assistant. Is that correct?
Executive assistant, yes. The current ones, one is very much more trained with assisting planning and zoning permitting software. The other one had to learn all the duties to begin with. Now she has rolled into helping with finance as well. So one has more to offer in finance where she doesn't have it in permitting or planning office, and the other one has the vice versa.
So again, it's benefit to the town to take advantage of individual talents and abilities and to divide the work as well. So again, I'm looking for flexibility from council to do what's best for the staff to meet needs and gaps. And so, if there's, again, if just looking for general direction as far as reduction of that, is it 20 hours a week? Is that what you're looking for? Or
I will add to also the one that was doing the vice versa also is a certified clerk previously and has 10 plus years in local government. The other had no years in local government.
yeah.
But combined now, they're working 20 hours a week.
Right now, they're combined working up to 24,
9 to 3.
not 9 to 3, 4 days a week. Previously, I think when it was in one person, it was up to 20 hours a week. So again, I want to focus on hours and the benefit, rather than individuals.
Gotcha.
I'd like to maintain no more than 20 hours a week at the $20 $20 per hour.
What the rest of council think of that?
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay.
I'm okay with it.
So the next item, maintain funding for the part-time human resource officer function. That was one of the consensus items from last time. Some of the comments that were received were in regards to, there was some discussion in the last meeting about not attending town council meetings. I will take exception to that. As town administrator, there's value in her perspective and her expertise. And so I think it's, again, contingent on, my role as administrator to provide guidance as to how to best utilize her time. And so, that's what I would request and support would be to have that remain as part of my decision as town administrator. There was a comment about reducing the weekly hours to no more than 20 hours a week. That's what we have right now. So she can't work more than 1,000 hours per year. And so there may be some weeks where it's more than 20, but then there's other weeks it's less than 20. So it averages out to less than 20 hours a week. So I see there's no change there that is needed.
Can you summarize, I know last time you mentioned attending different meetings and whatnot, but I'm still struggling with 7 employees needing 20 hours a week for HR. So what exactly, and I don't know, Cynthia, David, whoever,
So-
but I would look more at 10 hours a week.
I do suggest caution. You know, part of the human resource role is, you know, there's a certain amount that's required for the organization in general. It's not necessarily about employee, but it's protecting the town. You know, when you're seeking benefits for employees, you know, that's the same amount whether you got 5 employees or 500, you're still having those conversations. And so there's economy of scale. You don't get economy of scale based on being a small organization all the time. There are a number of meetings, and I sent out a response about meetings prior to, just a few minutes prior to the meeting. So I certainly suggest you look at that after the meeting when you get a chance. And again, I recommend caution in reviewing those individual meetings. You know, we, as an organization, do not want to single out an employee and never scrutinize a single employee or their function. It's up to me as administrator to supervise that function. As far as justification, again, the HRO was very involved with my recruitment as administrator, assisting council with that, assisting the Central Pines with that. They do a lot with the recruitment. And I've mentioned before that the recruitment, it's not as simple as it was before in previous years. There's more requirements, particularly with recreation employees, that it's more time consuming, it's more important than ever before to get references, to get background checks. That's more time consuming. And we're not getting the follow-up from references from prior employers that you would expect. And so there's a lot of time and efforts doing the logistics back and forth. There's a lot of time involved with benefits, you know, seeking out benefits, you know, assisting employees if they have issues getting, you know, working through benefits. So again, you have the human resource officer job description that's been shared previously. If you need for us to reshare that, I'd be glad to. And again, it's incumbent on me as administrator to make sure that she's doing those duties. She has shared previously that, you know, and we have shared from an administrator standpoint that, you know, they're 20 hours a week. It can be challenging to do everything that needs to be done in 20 hours a week, particularly when there are pressing matters and trying to go through specific recruitment. But if you have specific questions, please let me know.
Like I said, I would still like to see it reduced from the 20 hours. Because even when you're saying seeking benefits, are you talking about actually going out trying to find more benefits or implementing those benefits that are already in place?
Logistical issues, questions about benefits, getting bids for benefits, you know, working with the providers. And I certainly don't want to speak for Ms. Cynthia, so I certainly encourage her to add any more to this conversation that she feels appropriate.
There, for the state healthcare plan, obviously, there's no bidding, there's no discussions about that. But staff does sometimes have questions about processing and various things with different policies. But in addition to the state health program, there's also your portable programs. You have your cancer, you have your critical care, you have various other things that they may have that they need assistance with from time to time. So it's not just health insurance, it's various benefits. There's a retirement system. There's a number of questions that may come up throughout the year from staff that they need assistance with.
There's employee assistance program.
The provider doesn't have like a customer service or 800 number that they provide information on their policy for?
Of course they do, but sometimes staff don't understand the information that is provided. There are times that additional assistance is needed for various reasons.
And sometimes the customer service by the provider is less than ideal. And so the HRO is the go-between, is the advocate for the employee to make sure that they're getting the benefits that they need. And making sure that the town is getting the value for what it is paying.
I would include retirement in that as well.
If there are no further comments, I'd like to move to the next point.
I'd like to hear what the other staff, or the other council member think on the number of hours.
We'll start at the other side. Councilman Jackson?
All right. Well, when we had our last meeting, I think we kind of said 20 hours was sufficient.
That was the consensus that staff heard, yes, sir.
And now, there was a mention about looking into, in the future, about reducing that. And I'm okay with how that stands. Was that, right now, for this year's budget, to say that 20 hours is sufficient. But might be something we look into for the future.
Councilman Davis?
I too was also under the impression that at our last meeting, we decided what we wanted on this, that we had consensus that we were going to keep the position and that we would look at other options later. So to keep us from wasting our time, I'd like us to, when we have consensus on an item, to move on after that consensus has been made.
Well, I didn't remember the consensus because I remember there were multiple of us that wanted a reduction in hours.
Councilman Eccles?
That was actually in my last email, a reduction in hours.
Mayor Pro Tem Castleberry?
We talked about the 20 hours last meet. That's what, I'm fine with that. But to cut her hours, it just, we can't deal without a HR person. And I don't want to be signing my name on stuff that's gonna put us in a bind when we got somebody with the certification she's got and the, where are we gonna get anybody else? And, it's just, to me, I think we have done a good job. We've had this HR for years, and I just can't see cutting back any more than the 20 hours a week. We got to have that. And like you say, she don't do it every week, but there might be weeks she works over, weeks she works under, whatever, but.
Okay. It seems like we have a consensus at staying with the max of 20 hours per week on average and at the current rate.
All right, thank you. Next item is 401K reduction to 5%. I believe there was consensus with that. The next item was insurance. There was discussion of possibly requiring employees' contributions like the state, depending on salary, and looking at the 70-30 option. I believe we've gotten some information on 70-30. Ken, would you be the appropriate one to speak to that? I know you, or let's see, I believe it's you that got those numbers, right?
Well, I did a comparison of what
Comparison.
it would be.
Could you speak to that? Do you mind?
Yes.
Apologies.
You may come up there.
Yes, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Regarding the state health plan, that is, the premiums are salary-based, so therefore determining which plan you go with. Now, I don't know anything about the high deductible plan. All I can speak to tonight is on the 80/20, the Plus Pro, and the 70/30 standard PPO plan. If the town were, because I had to go in, y'all didn't want any COLAs, I had to remove the COLAs. You asked the merit to be increased to 3% versus 2%, so all them adjustments had to be made. So I would know what somebody's salary could possibly be come the 1st of January. So having done that with our current plan, if the current plan would be reduced somewhat, because the first half of the year was based on, well, I think the original proposed budget that you had, the premium that was put in for each of the 7 full-time members was at $925 based. Instead of breaking it down per salary, it's easier just to do a total across-the-board rate. But by doing it by the salaries and then dividing it between the first half of the year and the second half of the year, it was reduced somewhat. But in looking at the difference between the first half of the year being 80/20 and the second half of the year being 70/30, beginning in January, that was only going to be a $2,574 difference between what would be on the line item for in those 3 departments.
That was a $2,570 difference.
Yes, sir.
So I guess, the question before council is twofold. With the 70/30 option, you've got the potential cost savings to reduce it. There'll actually be, reduction in benefits as well. So cost benefit analysis in regarding to adjustment to the 70/30 option. And then there was some discussion last time, there wasn't consensus about the amounts, but there was some discussion as well about employee contributions. So I'd say those are the 2 things that you have before you regarding the plans and then employee contributions.
Councilman Jackson, you want to start this discussion?
And I'm gonna do the same thing I did the last time. I'm pretty well blessed that I have the DOD insurance program, and I don't have enough experience to contribute an opinion on that. There was, the consensus was formed without me, and I went along with the rest of the group.
Okay, Councilman Davis?
So just so I'm clear, so y'all have elected to go with the 80/30 till January 1 and then 7/30?
So what Ms. Kim provided was information, so we have to stay with the 80/20 for the remainder of the calendar year.
Gotcha.
And then if council wanted to pursue the 70/30 thereafter, there would be a cost savings of $2,400?
500.
$2,500
Some cents, yeah.
for all of town staff for the remaining 6 months. So is there a value in reducing the level of benefits that employees receive, versus the cost savings of $2,500?
So I guess I'm okay with, in my opinion, if you go with the 80/20, I think employees should pay a little bit, but if we go with the 70/30, then the town should cover the rest.
So if we went with the 80/20, would you do the same contribution that state employees do?
And what is that contribution?
I sent you all the spread, it varies by, I think I did bring it with me.
I believe $66 to $160 per month for the 80/20 plan.
For the 80/20, it varies from 66 to 160. If you're under $50,000, it's 66, 50,001 to 65,94, 65,001 to 90,000, 122, and 90,000 and above, 160.
All right, Councilmember Eccles.
I almost feel like we need a little more time to review these numbers. So the cost savings for January through June for the next fiscal budget would be $2,500?
2570.
And if they did if we voted on the 80/20, there was no cost saving amount given for that, correct?
Currently, the town pays 100% of employee coverage only.
You just provided like calculations for 70/30, that was the 2,500 for the first half of
Yes.
27? Was there
If
the
the town
calculation?
if the town did the same that they're doing now for the 80/20 with the 70/30, the town would only save $2,500 across 3 departments.
I've always paid my health benefits, so I'm okay with people contributing to theirs. So I'm in agreement with the 80/20. That 2,500 can go towards our property tax.
I'm sorry, I'm not following.
I think saving the 2,500 would be the 70/30, isn't that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I believe it's the case.
Okay. I thought you just.
Mayor Pro Tem Castleberry.
I suspect 80/20.
And Councilmember Bruton.
I like Councilman Davis's approach. If we go with the 80/20, have the contribution and keep the 70/30, just because I've heard from so many residents about they've dropped health insurance because they can't afford it. And us paying 100%, I think is a lot to ask those residents.
Would any of y'all be in agreement for this the next budget?
Well, no, for this.
I know for
because
this one, but
it would start in
it's just-
January. Because there wouldn't be any change until January.
No, but we'd have to vote on what number that would be right now for starting January. And so we could table this and wait till the next year's budget, not the following year. So we just leave it how it is.
I don't agree with that. Just because there won't be any change. They don't have the open enrollment until October. So if they put it.
So we'd have to come up with a number before the next week or two. Unless you go
Well,
off of.
I don't think we would be able to really determine that until we get the new premiums in probably August anyway.
I wouldn't vote unless there was an event of a tie, and that would be unlikely. But I don't, for $2,570 difference, I don't see the benefit of making a change. So Councilmember Jackson, that kind of brings us back to you.
I guess it does. Um, Can we go talk about the next thing and give me a minute to think about that? So I think it's hinging on me.
All right? We'll come back to that.
So the next item was eliminate the cost of living adjustment, cap the merit at 3%. There seemed to be consensus on that. I will just mention that the organizations that I'm familiar with that do not have a cost of living adjustment do a market analysis every couple of years. So I would encourage council to consider that in the future.
And just for record, I note that one is related to the previous one. I mean, if we're going to make adjustment, we made adjustments last year. If we were going to make adjustments again this year, I think we need to strongly consider keeping, something consistent, for employee benefits. Okay. Any additional comments on the COLA or cap merit? Or merit cap? Okay.
The next item was additional $6,500 as per the approved audit engagement letter. There was a comment saying that number should be 6,000. Is 6,500 the correct number?
Yes, sir. The contract was $26,500.
Any questions on that?
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. I had a question. That's from the North Carolina League of Municipality, Ken?
I'm sorry?
Is that from the North Carolina League of Municipality?
The professional fees?
The audit
Is it
engagement
the
letter
auditor?
is from the auditor.
Yeah.
Oh, it's directly from the auditor?
May in place.
Oh, okay.
It was on the contract.
Oh,
That
okay.
was approved by May
Oh,
and
okay.
Place.
Council approved the engagement letter at the last meeting. Next item is trainings and meetings. The understanding staff, reduction from 5,000 to 4,000. There were additional comments about confirming the fireproof cabinet is not duplicated in the small business equipment and furnishings line item. That falls under a different line item. And then page 10, Edmonds should be 1435, not 2435. I believe
It's incorrect.
that's incorrect.
Where were you? I'm sorry.
There were some additional comments about administration. So it wasn't under trainings and meetings. There were some comments by Ms. Eccles about page 10, Edmonds should be 1435, not 2435. Ms. Batten stated that is incorrect. And Ms. Eccles had a comment about page 13, small equipment is 6,000, not 10,000, and requested confirmation that it's not a duplicate.
So when you said it's incorrect, the 2435 was incorrect on here, it should have been 1435, like
No,
in the April?
2435 is correct.
So in the April copy, it was wrong?
I'm not sure what you were looking at, but in the
Our
proposed
April
budget,
draft said 1435.
we were looking at the proposed budget that was presented in May the 18th. That's the column that you need to look at, the admin figure.
But I think you're asking, why did it change from 14 to
Right.
24 between the draft and the proposed?
Was there an increase or something? Because there was $1,000 difference.
It's probably because I got the invoice from Edmonds showing what the renewal will be.
So they increased it then?
If there is an increase, then it's been increased. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, May, it come in as an increase.
Let me just mention, it's a challenge for staff to have 100% total recall on, every version of the budget. So it's hard to definitively answer questions like
Yeah,
that.
they aren't, but, a couple thousand numbers. I was trying to make a joke.
I understand.
But the way you took it,
I
I was like, I hope it didn't come across wrong. It was just, it's totally understandable that you can't recall all the numbers.
But we can confirm that the 2435 is the correct number.
Oh, okay, thank you.
And then the duplicate, small equipment,
That's fine. Thank you. Which department are we in?
under administration,
It is not a duplicate. If she was looking at the April, then it may have been on the April, but when the May proposed budget was done, it was removed from capital outlay, and a 4,000 addition was added to the 6,000 previous for a 4-drawer Fire King, because it's less than $5,000. So there's no duplication. It was just, I took it out of capital outlay because it's less than 5,000, and just merely added that figure to the current 6,000 in that line item.
So for page 13, that 10,000 is correct?
That's, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
moving on, Mayor Council, to public buildings. There was substantial discussion about no extension of Wi-Fi and no cameras. I will, although I believe, I'm not sure if there may be some that question if we had, may not have been unanimous. We felt like we had consensus, but I guess there were some questions about that. Ms. Eccles, did you have, I don't want to speak for you, did you have some questions about that?
Which one?
About the no extension of Wi-Fi and no cameras?
No, there was a consensus. My note is just what is the new comms total on page 18.
Well, we have an updated budget, or changes in front of you that was hot off the press this evening. So that should give you a new figure. I think he's trying to get clarification now on but it was removed.
Okay. So does that answer all the questions?
Yes. Yep, thank you.
On Wi-Fi and cameras?
Yep.
Water and sewer, I believe there was consensus to reduce from $6,000 to $4,500.
I did not do that because our water, and you also have in front of you a current statement of revenues and expenditures, and the water sewer is, well, I've got the water bills today, actually, and we are already beginning to encroach the current 4,500 and for water sewer, and we're about to start on the maintenance building across the west side part, and the restroom 2 facility will be opening up, and I do not recommend lowering that from $6,000 to $4,500.
So Mayor, Council, there was consensus to reduce it. Staff encourages reconsideration of that and recommends maintenance of the $6,000 for the water and sewer.
Current expenditures at water sewer is $4,352, and that, the
It's through
bills I
April?
received today is through
April?
May. I think it's April and May, and the community centers was roughly $460 for this past month with the irrigation.
With the additional facilities that will come online, I find it highly unlikely that we would be able to come under 4,500 personally.
And with additional usage of the bathrooms at 2 more facilities, again, reiterate, recommend maintenance of 6,000 as proposed. In light of the up-to-date bills that we've received on that.
Councilman Jackson, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, so April and May, it was $400, and we're gonna get billed how many more times this year? It'll be, well, I'm assuming June and July,
6 more.
well, until the new fiscal year starts. And so we'd get billed, what, twice more?
Once more.
Once more, right?
Just once more?
June?
Well, I don't actually have those service dates in front of me, so I cannot.
It may be July for June billing, so.
Gotcha. So.
We're
So it
going
doesn't
to
look
exceed the
like-
$4,500 plus bring 2 more facilities on.
Right.
It's not an apples to apples comparison because of what's coming online.
What I'm saying is, we were already at $4,300 and we just got or whatever it was, and we got a $400 bill. So maybe 45 won't work on that. But yeah, I reckon. I'm not sure. In that case, for this year even, 4,500 is just barely going to cover it.
Actually, it's not going to cover it.
And,
Yeah, that'll be part of a budget amendment to true up at the end.
probably.
So again,
Yeah, I guess we'll go to 6. I mean, I'm okay.
staff recommends 6. If we don't need it, we won't spend it.
Right.
It's gonna be paid as it's billed, right? And, so, Councilman Davis, your thoughts on that?
When is the other restroom coming online, you said? How soon?
We've got Pavilion 2 ready to come on any day now.
Anytime we say go.
And then we expect to have the contract on the Public Works, I keep referring to it as Public Works, Recreation Facilities Building, construction to start soon. I think we could have it as early as October online. So 9 months into, of water usage in that building as well.
How many bathrooms is that, or restrooms is that the building gonna have, the public, or not the,
It's going to have a staff restroom at the recreation
Just
maintenance
one?
building.
So
One staff
have
one, and then we've
multiple?
got two restrooms in the Pavilion 2 that will service both multi-purpose field that's going to be getting a lot of use, as well as pickleball courts, which we expect to be quite popular.
so the current one has what, three bathrooms? 4? And the other one's got 2 down there? So it's gonna be half the water,
It's
gonna be half, roughly, maybe a little less?
I would say a little less, just because, it's gonna get used, but not as much as the bigger, pavilion.
However, the bigger pavilion may be more seasonal based on baseball. And pickleball is probably going to be 12 months out of the year. So it's hard to predict. But again, there's going to be more usage. We're exceeding $4,500 this year. We're adding additional facilities on top of exceeding $4,500.
It's hard to predict, but we know it's going to increase.
We know it's going to
I mean,
increase, yes, sir.
that's, again, that's a build.
It's not going
meter
down.
Product. It is going to be as it's built. And unfortunately, we're going to pay it how it's built.
I encourage council to give full consideration to the 6th and move forward to another item.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm all right for that.
I'm good.
All right, thank you. Next, Public Works, there was what we felt like was consensus to eliminate Moscow banners. The Councilmember Eccles had a comment about road and welcome signs. So if you could elaborate on that, please.
Yes, on page, it not only says banners, but the entire line says banners, road and welcome signs, all three. So I just wanted to confirm, were we talking about all three or just the banners? Not doing all three or just the banners? Because we actually have some welcome signs already, right?
We just have town.
What town limit
The
sign?
town limit signs?
Yeah.
We do not have any welcome signs, what you
was-
traditionally call welcome signs. We don't have land for that. You would need to acquire land for that.
Oh, okay.
You know, we had discussions today with DOT about town limit signs. There would be some cost to us for that.
Ms. Kim, do we have any town limit signs left? I know, because it was mentioned in the earlier presentation that there's, been one or two missing. Do we still have one in the storage building? I haven't looked in the storage building in a little while myself.
Are they all green?
Yes.
Yes, we have, I want to say 3 left.
Okay.
One's bent up in bad condition, but we have 2 that have not been used.
Okay.
That was something that Mr. Brantley
Mr.
did for the
Brantley.
town, and we don't have Public
Absolutely.
Works to install those.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have some already, so,
We have some. We don't have a full assessment of how many we need. We may need some more. And if council wants to do the citywide speed limit sign that was discussed at the prior meeting or tonight, then that would be additional cost as well. I believe Ms. Bruton made a reference to that earlier.
Yeah, but that, going with what DOT said, he really recommended keep the town limit signs
As a minimum.
up
Yes, sir.
to date. So
As a
I don't
minimum.
really see a need for the other with citywide speed limits.
Does that answer your questions, ma'am?
yes.
Thank you. The next point, looking at the radar sign alternative, we had some discussions with DOT on that earlier. We can certainly look at those and work with DOT on encroachment. What I would suggest, I don't have pricing on that, haven't had a chance to do that. However, if you want to give us an amount for that, then, we can work within that budget. But I believe, Ms. Kim, we've got, in the current budget, purchase of one more radar sign included in the recommended budget. Is that correct?
Yes.
There was some discussion on council about doing additional signs or doing some alternatives. We can work within what the budget is, or council could consider adding more to it based on prior conversations.
I'd like to leave it like it is with one more and just repairing the other one, because I think where we really are gonna need one is down there where we do a pedestrian crossing at the park, and until they do their crosswalks and the sight distance improvements, who knows when that might actually take place. I'd like to just hold off and leave it like it is.
I think any of those signs that we purchase need to be set up where they can check. We know, in a ballpark, what the cars are running or whatever. Just having them there with the speed limit flashing is good, don't get me wrong. But, we need to, that would be a good way for us to keep up with what we're doing. as a town, and firsthand with us, and we were talking about fixing the old one and getting both of them to where you could use that information that's inside of them. I think instead of just keep buying signs, we go ahead and get these two working like they're supposed to and see what kind of information we get. And then maybe possibly next year buying 2 more, whatever, 3, whatever. it is.
Mayor and council, in consideration of time, it'd be my recommendation to maintain it as is and give staff more time to look at alternatives and bring that back before council.
Okay, council, any issues with that?
I'm okay with maintaining it as is, but, or the dollar amount, but not buying any more, of the signs on the poles.
The Mosca signs.
Yep.
Okay.
And that leads us to the next item. There was some discussion last week about, in addition to eliminate the Mosca signs, which there appeared to be consensus to to look at, using some of those funds for additional equipment. Ms. Kim, if I may ask, if we eliminate, if the town eliminates the Mosca banners in that budget item entirely, what happens to the existing banners? Do we still utilize those, but then we would have to pay them to change them, right?
That's correct.
So we would need to either pay them to take them down or pay them at some point to change them out and just get the use that,
Put them in the barn, look at them.
so, I guess council could consider just not using them and storing them, or if you want to budget some money to get the use that has already been paid for. What is your pleasure there?
Do we know how many we have out there total? New or somewhat new?
When you say out there, you mean hanging already?
No, in
Or
the
in the
barn.
barn? Oh.
Kim, is it about 16 or 20 roughly that we've got out there?
I'm sorry, that was, Joyce kept up with the inventory, and I'm not even sure that it's been maintained since she retired. I'm not sure about that spreadsheet.
Okay.
What I do know is that 20 have been ordered for the 250th anniversary.
Yep.
And as well as the 4 light poles for the town park to match the banners that are currently in phase 1 and 2, so that you have them in phase 3.
With the investment the town has made, certainly understanding council's desire not to invest further in those banners, if that's the direction of council, I would suggest maybe considering budgeting some money for that so that we can continue to use the banners that we have. Or the alternative would be to put them in storage. So those are the 2 options that you have.
Do you recall, Ms. Kim, when the 250th anniversary banners were supposed to come in and when they would potentially be installed?
We're hoping by July 4th.
Okay.
That was the goal.
That would be the most appropriate time, and I mean, really the option of putting them in storage and using them later isn't gonna be an option, so. I would say if that money's already spent, my recommendation would be to hang them.
Is that money already available that would be from the previous budget
That was
to hang them?
from the current budget year.
Yeah.
I mean, right, but previously approved budget to get the boom truck and hang those. There's funds already available to hang those?
Purchase them, not the install. That would be in the next fiscal year.
You're
For
talking
the
this
250?
July 4th?
Yes. It takes a while to get them in, so it's just, we're at the end of this fiscal year and about to start the new fiscal year.
Yeah, the holiday is like in 2 weeks though, so they have not arrived yet.
They have not arrived yet.
So that means we haven't asked someone to install them yet either, correct?
Correct.
They're in the process of being rented.
We need to put those up, and at some point, they'll need to come down, but it's a question of whether or not we put anything else back up afterwards.
And did we ever get a cost on what that boom truck, what the install is?
I sent an email that had the invoice for the install for the
Oh,
most
okay.
recent with all that information.
I guess my question is it going to be installed before July 1st or after July 1st?
I can't answer that. We're hoping they'll be done by July 4th. That was the purpose in getting them.
If they're installed
They're
before
not
we,
being personalized, it's just an already printed banner.
but if they're installed before, we would most likely be looking at a budget amendment to install.
We wouldn't be able to do that either because June 30th is around the corner.
I know.
Unless we have a special call
But
meeting for a
e-
budget amendment.
Either way, I lean with Councilman Jackson on that. I mean, the money's been spent for the banners. It's the 250th anniversary. We're not going to use them next year. You know, I think that we need to hang them post haste, you know, when they come in, and let's hope they get hung before July 4th.
Well, even if they don't, I still think they need to go up, and then but we'll, at some point, we'll have to pay for them to come down.
I agree 100%. I mean, it's still the 250th anniversary. That's just
For the
not
rest
one
of the
day.
year.
It's
Yeah.
for the
For the rest
entire
of the
year.
year.
There's no reason to not put those up.
I could agree with Councilman Jackson. Put them up, leave them up through the end of the year, take them down, and don't put any more up.
And
They'll
then-
get 6
and then
months.
done.
I'm okay for that.
So can we can council agree to provide a modicum amount of funding for the upcoming fiscal year?
Yeah, I don't know what whatever the amount is, it's gonna take to complete that.
Want one installation and one removal.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull that email.
Would that be removing the banners and or the hardware that's involved with
I
them?
don't think there's any need to leave the hardware up there.
Take the hardware down as well.
Once it's time to take them down at the end of the year.
I mean, you know, a future council may choose to use the banners, and so I don't know if it's necessarily any benefit to, it doesn't hurt to leave the hardware there.
Okay. Then we can leave it, that'd be fine with me.
I'm sorry, Kim, I can't find that email. Do you happen to have that in front of you or know that?
I do not have
cost?
my work
Okay.
email on my personal device, no ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that covered in the 12? I'm sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Is that covered in, that's not covered in the 12, the install?
No ma'am, it's not.
Okay, so with the banners, that includes no road signs and no welcome signs. So just for clarity, is that 12 coming off then? Is that our consensus, that 12 on page 26? is coming
Except
out?
for one installation and one removal. Is kind of what I was hearing.
Right.
Put up the 250 a year and then take it off at the end of the year.
Okay, but we don't know what that total is.
Did anybody else on council get that email? Regarding the banners and the 250? Because it would have had the attachment.
I can't access my Archer Lodge from here, so
My recommendation would be put an appropriate amount, let staff review, put an appropriate amount for an install and also removal, and move on.
Yeah.
Oh, here it is. Invoice.
All right. That's the consensus, then we shall move forward with that. Let's see, then this takes us to,
2124 was the amount from the invoice.
that's for one install. I'd suggest $4,500 for if we're, or at least, or $4,500 to $5,000 if we're gonna do two versions. Can we, council agree to $5,000, just, and we won't spend what we don't need.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
$5,000 for, the Moss room. And-
I'm all right with that.
All right, that takes us to planning and zoning. Council requested by consensus reducing the training and meetings from 5,000 to 4,000, removing the funding for the Archer Lodge Town Core concept of $10,000, retain the strategic plan. There were no questions, comments on that. Under Parks and Rec, felt like there was consensus about removing the bullpens and batting cages and contacting Johnson County for a funding request. I've done so. I've copied you on that request. We will be moving forward with the open space grant application for the upcoming year. Let's see. Ms. Meckles, I believe you had a comment on that in regards to bullpens and batting cages?
No, I don't think it was in reference to those two. Let me pull it back up.
Or in regards to Parks and Rec in general?
Yes, the surveillance, you can get those signs that say this area is under surveillance. They're like $10.
We have them up already.
Oh, we do? So in the second section, we have
We
some?
have not put those up there, not yet, but at the first pavilion, we have dummy cameras up as well as, signs stating that this,
Areas under, good.
area is under surveillance 24 hours, as well as we have a Metro Community Center.
Okay, great, great. So we have some extras?
As far as stickers or signs, I don't think so, but I'm in the process of doing another sign order now.
Okay, cool, cool.
But of course, we wouldn't have surveillance on phase two since we don't have Wi-Fi or cameras for phase two. That
Let's
was-
put some signs down there. With dummy cameras.
Any other questions, comments about Parks and Recreation? And then interfund transfer, there was consensus to reduce the transfer to the Public Safety Reserve Fund from $50,000 to $25,000. So that was the notes as shared in regards to last meeting. There was, Ms. Uckles had some other follow-up questions in regards to early payoff. If council chooses to pay off the remaining loan, as we've discussed before, we've got 3 loans. 2 will be paid off in the upcoming fiscal year. There have been some questions about potential cost savings and interest if we pay off the 3rd loan for the addition. There is no penalty if council chooses to pay off that loan early. However, that would drop the town below the threshold for fund balance. And council just approved the fund balance policy.
I'm sorry, let me clarify. That was only for the 2 that are being paid off this year, not the remaining town hall balance. The 2 that will be paid up, one is in August and the other one, they're both this year. But if you pay them off early, there are interest fees
I
or
believe
interest.
one's due in August
Not for one in August. The one in August is contract. That's an annual payment in August.
So,
So the full interest would be paid regardless.
oh, okay.
So
Thank you.
at least
That's
it will
what I-
be paid.
Oh, okay. And on the other one? Because one has like $1,200 of interest and the other one has $2,000 of interest. And if we were able to pay them off, that would have saved us about $3,200 we could have removed from the budget.
I didn't understand your inquiry. I thought your question was in regard to the third one.
No. The balance is way too large.
I don't have a response. I can't answer that question this time.
Do you know about that one, man?
Well, I mean, if it were, with it being that, it's one that we're paying off anyway, if it's one that we can pay off, if it'll work, where it would save us some money, then if we pay it off early, go ahead and pay it off early. If it doesn't, then there's no need, but you have the opportunity.
And that was another KS loan. Was that another KS loan? What was the other one?
It was originally BB&T, intergovernmental, now it's Truist. Governmental, not governmental funded.
So we haven't reached out to them. I've reached out to KS Bank.
We're just going based on the original amortization schedule that was done 15 years ago.
So, and that was something that would be, those amortization schedules are updated and somewhat, or, or summary estimates. So I'm not sure there would necessarily be the cost savings that, I can't say confirm or deny. It would be
I don't think it would hurt to inquire. I do think it's going to be a pretty negligible amount in the grand scheme of things.
And then there were, Ms. Eccles made comments in her email about rounding up. I believe we've had some general discussion about what has been done in the past as far as making sure that you budget conservatively and that you provide some flexibility. And that was some of that justification for rounding up as a common budgeting practice. So I don't know if anybody has any other comments.
Well, one thing too, we show budget versus actual, and we show prior years and things. We have a history, of coming in under budget on many line items. So we don't have I have seen in cases, not here, but I have seen cases in other places where if it's budgeted X, they're going to make sure that they spend X. But we don't have that, and we don't have that, and as is evidenced by the budget versus actual and the prior years. I think that tweaking it, we have made certain adjustments, but I think that's really cutting a corner on just rounding myself. That's my opinion.
Well, I agree with, it's needed just to have a little buffer, but I know at least there was one that was over $1,000 rounding.
Two.
So there were two over 1,000. So those were the ones that really kind of caught my eye as far as maybe being able to reduce them some.
Understood.
The ones that were highlighted, the total roundups came up to about $10,000. The ones that I highlighted and underlined, which was just a few, would still save us about $4,000. And again, my point is every 1,000 we can knock off, it can go towards the property tax being lowered. And that was the point. If we're constantly under budget, not spending what we actually set aside, then we're not chopping our foot off if we can benefit the residents of Archer Lodge and drop that property tax more.
It does cut down on, though, your future, so far as what you're able to put back in fund balance to offset future expenses. That's where it would actually hurt, going forward. That policy, that practice has allowed us over, 16 years now, to build the fund balance to where it is. And, I think that we would be letting a little bit too much air out of the tire if we split the difference there myself.
And point of information, so 1 cent on the property tax rate equates to about $70,000. So to get an additional half-cent reduction would require $35,000.
And we definitely have made some of those adjustments. I'll send that email again. I was doing some calculations on some of our cuts. We are able to do that.
We serve at the pleasure of council.
Councilman Jackson, what's your feelings on rounding?
Well, I mean, as long as it's not, I think it's a smart idea to do it, but just making sure it's not excessive is all.
A smart idea to maintain rounding,
Right.
just with the, just make sure it's not excessive.
Yeah.
Or in your opinion, are we excessive with what has been presented?
Well, I mean, I think the ones where, we're rounding for those, with 3 digits, well, no, not 3 digits, 4 digits above, then that might be a bit much. And, yeah, that's kind of my opinion on that.
Okay, well, 4 digits would be $10,000, right?
No.
Or more.
No, 4 would be 1,000.
Okay. No, you're right. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I was thinking about where the comma goes. And, in the head. Okay. Councilman Davis, your feelings?
I'm okay with it, but we shouldn't be going over 1,000. There's just no, we're already budgeting more in some of these line items, and you're just gonna add on top of that. We shouldn't be doing that.
All right. We've already heard from Eccles, Mayor Pro Tem Castleberry.
I just think we need to be real careful, 'cause the way things are going right now, gas, groceries, everything else, you think about it, a bill goes up $60 a month. In 12 months, that's $1,200. And that's something that we do every day. And my Spectrum bill went up $60 a month. We had to call, cut some stuff out. But that's $1,200 a year. Now, that's my Wi-Fi and everything at my house, now, don't get me wrong. But yeah, that's $1,200. And we talking about rounding stuff, I mean,
So,
some of it would be okay, but it depends on what it is. With big stuff, stuff's going up 12, 15, 18, 20% a year. I don't want to get into a bind to where we got to call special meetings to start moving money. Because if we don't use it, it's there to go right back into that fund.
Mayor, Council, if I may, I just suggest some context be given in regards to $1,000. It depends on the line item and how much money is budgeted for that specific line item. And so, whether, I could certainly understand if it was a line item of $10,000, $1,000 would be substantial, but in regards to page 19, $1,142 rounding, that's actually 2 different line items. Communications, that is 57, and then contract services, which is 64. So you're looking at $119,000. $1,142, that's less than 1% rounding. I would suggest that is not out of the ordinary for those 2 line items.
What page did you say?
Page 19.
Because I've got contracted services on page 19 with the rounding of 302.
Correct. I'm using Ms. Eccles' numbers that she shared 1142, she's showing the 840 on the prior line item that's under communications, and then 302 for rounding under contract services. That's, I believe, where she got the 1142 that exceeded 1,000, and that's actually two different line items that total $119,000. So less than 1% of those two line items
And
combined.
that's how it's listed in the email. One is 840 and the other is 302.
Again,
But just like we have budgets at home, and when things increase, we cut back spending in other areas. And we are fiscally responsible for Archer Lodge taxpayers' money, and wherever we can make cuts to benefit them, that's what we should do. I'm an Archer Lodge resident, I am a taxpayer, and I'm just not advocating for other people, I'm also advocating for my tax dollars as well.
I agree with the fiscal responsible acts, absolutely, and quite frankly, I think the council has been fiscally responsible in its entire history. But the point is, in my opinion, we're not only to be fiscally responsible today, but making decisions that will be fiscally responsible in the future. I mean, costs go up, and, you know, we have been cautioned many times over the years about not running on the rim. That was one of the biggest drivers last year in what council approved, was to make sure we had already, the prior 2 years had been reaching back into fund balance just to pay the bills. And so we wanted to restore that. We also were looking at services that were going to potentially have an additional cost. And with the information we were given last year with the fire department, it was looking like it was. Turned out this year it was not, but that's not going to guarantee what's next year or the following. And so I tell you, I personally, you know, looking down the road, not even too far down the road, it's, in my opinion, I think putting back money for the future is a wise move. It would buffer potentially this council or future councils from having to consider an increase. Because having to consider an increase is a painful time. It really is.
I believe the inflation rate that we're looking at right now is about 3.5–4%. So, you know, I think you have to take a look at that as well as potential cost increases moving forward.
Do we know what the total percentage for rounding for the entire budget is?
I do not.
It's about 10,000, the total rounding?
No, the total percent for the whole budget.
$10,000?
No.
It's gonna vary because we've not set a tax rate yet. So there's still a lot of variables that have not been done yet. And the copy that you have in front of you has got 3 different tax rates, and I need some clarification tonight on what we're gonna do with it. I mean, time is of the essence. So, I mean, if y'all are ready to get off of this sheet and let's move to what you have printed in front of you, I highly suggest it. Because some of the changes have been made, and I can share with you what the revenues are for different tax rates, for property taxes, and how I got an average for what the Johnston County bills is gonna be for them collecting our fees. So I highly suggest we need to go ahead and start moving to this, and let's look at the changes that have been suggested and y'all talked about tonight and agreed on tonight, and that have taken place in this copy in front of you, if that's okay, sir.
I'm certainly fine with it.
You want to stand there, or do you want me to bring the mic over here?
Yeah, let's do that, if you don't mind. And some of the rounding has already been changed in some line items because of the amounts have changed. Okay, based on the summary that Town Administrator David just went over with. We'll just start with page 1, and let's just go through each page. And as I remember, nothing was going to be changed in the governing body whatsoever. So that, knowing that scenario, we can go ahead and skip through to page, let's say 4. Bottom of page 4, we'll start with the administration. The salaries do not have a COLA. They do have a up to 3% merit. I did not take out the first line item or the first explanation, because you can see what it was originally, and then now, if you look below in the middle column, it says admin recommended, you will see that the salary for the TA, no COLAs, 3% merit. Of course, it does have the longevity in it, and these are at 70%. It reduced $700 by removing the COLA there. The overtime was kept the same. I'm going on page 5. Part-time salaries, as it was noted earlier this evening, wanted to reduce the EA to $20 an hour, and at 900 hours. There's some weeks that they do not work, they are on vacation, or take off the week of Christmas, take off the week of Thanksgiving. So I did not figure for 52 weeks, I just figured 900 hours over the board, and that will be at 50%. As you'll see, it come up to $37,500. And then that also includes the HRO at not to exceed 999 hours in a calendar year at the same hourly rate. And so the difference between, as you can see, is about $1,500 between those two. Now, I did increase the rounding up to go up to 38. I can certainly reduce that back down. I do like whole numbers if possible. If y'all have a problem with that 500, please let me know right now and I'll reduce it. If you see on page 5, rounding under part-time salaries.
Yes.
What would you like? What's the consensus to make that?
Why do we need to round for that?
Some rounding, I think, is a reasonable thing, just to help cover your bases, but
So leave the 500 since it's under 1,000?
I'm all right with that.
Councilman Davis?
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Councilmember Eccles?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Castleberry?
Yes.
Okay, that's consensus.
Okay, so once you change your salaries and that, whether it's full-time or part-time, it does affect the FICA. And as you can see, it was reduced $400 there. Rounding was reduced in that as well. The retirement also, as I mentioned at the last meeting, that the 2.4% that has been as a surcharge because we're on the state health plan, that the state is mandating, is not going to be a part of the retirement percentage. So instead of figuring it at 18.1%, it has dropped down to 15.6%. So there's a difference there of what, $5,500 savings in that retirement. However, we have to add the 2.4% back into the medical, so you'll see that one. You'll see that that's what sparked me to go and do the spreadsheet that I shared with you earlier about the 80-20 plans, if you do it full year or half and half. So, but the medical, dental, vision is a difference of $500 now. 401K was reduced from 6% to 5%, but for computation, it was done at 5.15%. And that's just on the full-time salaries and the overtime figure. Page 7 at the bottom, that is the auditor may in place contract at $26,500, and then I did a rounding of $500 to make that even $27,000. Is that okay?
We have a contract for him for 26.5,
That's correct.
so why would it change from 26.5? Or,
Because we have grants that's going to be closing out, I just want to make sure he's got enough, but I can certainly take that out. It's $500.
It gives flexibility if there's a new finding that we don't have to have a budget amendment for every little thing.
And so, and sometimes grants do require additional audit work.
Well, you know my opinion. I'd say no on the rounding.
Councilman Jackson,
I'm all right with it.
Councilman Davis,
I'd say we take it out. We made enough, we can do a budget amendment.
And there's your three.
Mayor Pro Tem Castleberry,
I'm okay with it.
and Councilmember Bruton.
I'd take it out.
The consensus is to remove.
Will you please pass that around so they can see that the contract was $26,500? Moving on to page 9, I saw the notes to reduce the training from 5 to 4. That was done, and then Ben and I talked today and realized that his clerk certification was not included. That total figure for the 4 weeks is $3,650. 70% of that will be under the admin, and so you see $2,555 added to the $4,000 now, and then another rounding of $45. You will also see that clerk certification in planning and zoning training as well as Parks and Rec training. The amount will be only 15% for each of those two departments, not 70. Any questions? If not, the next item, I believe, was public buildings, which will be on page. Okay, first, before we get there, because we're coming up on tax collections, this is, if you will please turn to page 14, there's 3 different tax rates listed. So you'll see how the computation was done for, the proposed was already done, and then I've created one for 25-cent tax and 27-cent tax rate. And I got the totals for those and then come up with an average of just putting $47,000 in for the Johnston County. I did an average of the 3 tax rates. You don't have to answer that right now. Once we get to revenues, then I'll know which one to put. But right now, 47,000 is a good placeholder. I have to have that figure in order to compute the fire departments as well, and the park reserve transfer of 1 cent. I just wanted to share that little bit with you as we move forward. Public buildings. The property tax, I will say, I did reduce that. I was in there at 1,000. I did reduce that to 600. It's on page 15 at the bottom. So that's another $400. And public buildings begins on page 16. I mentioned the water sewer earlier, and I think it was agreed to keep it at 6,000, which is what I had put in there. The parking lot resurfacing was removed under the contracted services. That will be on page 19, and it's now 0. It was in at 25,000, no, 13, I think, and I removed the 13. As well as the security cameras and server for the town park is now 0. Moving on to public safety. I don't think, I made some changes to public safety because it's based on the tax rate with the fire department. It doesn't vary a whole lot, so as you will see on the bottom of 21 was what the proposed, then over on 22, a 25-cent tax rate was figured, and then a 27-cent tax rate was figured. And the average for all three of those would be $794,250. And so I put in $150 rounding for that to make it $794,400, depending on which tax rate we go with. Is there any questions up to anything at this time before we move on to anything else? I will address the animal control supplies. That is to purchase cages that we have to do periodically, and we had to order some new citation books. I think it was wanting to know what kind of supplies, and really it says animal control because that's all that we've had to purchase, but really it would be supplies for anything in public safety department. The 1 year we had to purchase our own cages, that they catch the cats and
okay.
whatever in. Okay, no more questions regarding public safety department. We'll move on to the public works. And I think we've addressed tonight about the Mosca banners, reducing that from 12,000 to 5,000. And then it does already, it's got the refresh and repair of the current mobile sign, that's still in there at 1,500, and then the purchase of a new one for $4,840. Those two things are still fine?
Yes.
That's a consensus, okay. All right, then we'll move on to planning and zoning. I do have a typo there, I found it earlier when looking for round figures. I will get that corrected. This also includes the no COLA and up to 3%. And the town planner's 100% in this department, and the other roles, positions, they are up at 15%. The training, as I mentioned, that was the next thing, reducing that from 5,000. Oh, okay, so when you affect the salaries, that also, well, the part-times was reduced too. Just like in the admin department, the EA, the executive assistants, is now in there at $20 an hour, not to exceed $999, or 900, maybe that's a typo too, 900. And then HRO, not to exceed 999. So that's had a reduction. But all of those salaries, even your planning board and board of adjustments, all of that affect the FICA taxes, and that has been reduced from the original request of $11,900 now. Retirement has also been reduced based on the new percentage. Medical and dental, that came down slightly. And then the 401k was reduced from the 6 to 5% as in the admin department. And then the other items that should be affected is training meetings on page 30. Like I mentioned earlier, reduced the 5,000 to 4, and then added the Clerk Certification Institute, the 15% for those 4 weeks. However, that is just for the certification course. That is no hotel stays or anything. Okay. And I think that's all in the planning zone. No, I'm sorry. The town core thing was totally removed, and we retained the strategic plan that is on page 32, sorry. At the top, strategic plan is 10, and the town core concept is 0. All right, that's all I have here in the planning and zoning. Then we'll go on to Parks and Rec. Same thing with the salaries for the full-time as well as the part-time salaries. Both of those have been adjusted with no COLAs and up to 3% merit, as well as the FICA taxes and the retirement, like as we did in admin and planning and zoning, and medical, dental, vision was reduced slightly. 401k was reduced from the 6% to 5%. And then the training, I didn't see any notes about reducing the original training of 9,000, so I just added the clerk certification and that to 15%. So that one went up $600. I do have a note here on page 40. After earlier talks a while ago, I will reduce that rounding to be below $1,000, 1140. I will have that reduced. And then if you will look on page 42, capital outlay, the batting cage and the bullpen have been reduced to 0, which leaves the other 2 projects of $30,000. And then the final note, if you will look on page 45, this is the computation for the transferred park reserve fund. You will see those 3 different tax rates. It's still in there as a 1-cent transfer as the proposed budget did. And the average of all 3 of those was roughly $69,000. So that is what.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Back on page 42, did we not take out the disc golf?
I did not have that.
Was that not a
I don't recall that. Hold on a minute, let me look them up.
No, you did not. And in fact, you know, the town has received a grant and has purchased, based on that grant, some of that equipment. And so, as part of the proposed recommended budget, would be to continue that project.
I don't think we talked about that at all.
I don't have
Not that I recall.
any of the three notes that I have from the mayor and the town administrator
I don't
and
recall that issue being
the clerk.
discussed.
We'll just leave it then, I guess. Nothing is said.
So are you wanting that in there or not? Because that makes a difference of what's coming out of the park reserve fund to pay for these items. I need to know that.
Didn't some of the Rita grant take care of this also? No?
Well,
Is this the only fee? Oh, I'm sorry, Mark.
Oh, no, you were talking, I just didn't realize. Oh,
Is there something we'll continue to pay for, or once we make this initial investment, we're good?
No, this is a one-time thing, unless you're doing upkeep, but again,
I mean, there's always maintenance costs. There's always maintenance costs.
this is one of the like lowest cost passive activities you can have. And it'll increase foot traffic, which increases general public safety and people at the park.
I'm fine with moving forward if y'all are.
So keep
Yeah,
it.
keep-
Yep.
And then like the last thing I just mentioned on at the bottom of 44 and page 45 was the average of all three tax rates of the 1 cent transfer to public, maybe not public, the park reserve was 69,000. And then on page 46, transfer to public safety was reduced from 50 to 25. And then currently, there is no transfer to fund balance because there's no need. I have not plugged anything in there because I don't know what the tax rate is, and so I don't know that we're gonna have anything to transfer. So I left it at 0 or nothing right now. And so let's look at page 46. Well, I just need to know about the revenues because general fund revenues is not going to be accurate because I left all 3 years in there for the tax rate. So, but once we determine what the tax rate will be, or tentatively, so I can run better figures, more accurate, then we'll know what the revenue is because they got to equal. Is there any questions right now on the general fund?
I have a question. Sorry to go back to 18. We're flipping kind of quick. I think it's 18. Let me see. Oh, and it's just a quick inquiry. Where's this professional fire extinguisher and the generator? Are these new things that we're purchasing?
They have to be serviced. We already have
That's
it.
annual service.
Oh, so it's 1,500 to service the generator?
It gets 3 services a year. That's that big piece of equipment out
Oh,
behind the
okay.
building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, a brand-new generator, you're probably looking at $7,500 plus to purchase.
And the fire extinguishers are in, there's one in every town vehicle. They're in every
room.
facility.
Yeah, I just didn't know what it was. I was just asking.
That's fine.
So-
It's service.
Okay, thanks.
Is there any other questions about the general fund? Okay, if not, let's go to revenues right fast, and that's gonna start on page of the general fund revenues, page 52. you will see all three tax rates, and you see the difference in them. And as David mentioned earlier, 1 cent's about $70,000, plus or minus. You also see it on page 53 with the motor vehicle taxes, all three rates. These were the only revenue items that were affected. I take that back. The transfer in from the Park Reserve Fund removed the batting cage and the bullpen, and should leave 30, and that did not get done. So that's got to be reduced. So I will correct page 57 where it's got 80,000, that needs to be changed to 30.
Kim, question regarding Park Reserve Fund and batting cage and bullpen. Council, has requested that we pursue an open space grant with the county, and we've begun those discussions. We'll have to put an application in the fall. That does require a 25% match. So it may be helpful to, you can't assume that you're going to be successful with a grant application, but, you certainly want to hope for the best. There may be a benefit to maintaining, some money in that to be able to cover the cost of a 25% match. And
What's the total?
their current balance, so the way the open space grant works, they divide funds based on the high school district. There is a balance of a little over 300,000 now. They have a policy not for one entity to deplete the funds available.
There's a little black cat walking by outside.
And so, again, we could certainly apply, for those two items, the batting cage and the bullpen. We could certainly look to apply for other elements in regards to the park, additional items that are left remaining in Phase 2 and Phase 3. So, you may want to consider potential match, say if we apply for $250,000, 25% of 250. Not saying that we could get 250, but, just for budgeting purposes, may want to include some consideration for that. Either that, or your council could handle that as a budget amendment down the road. But just wanted to mention that.
I'd say handle it as a budget amendment down the road.
Absolutely. Because that's $63,000 we would be putting back in the budget for a as-if situation.
Certainly, and, want to make sure that we've got those funds available to apply for those grant funds and pay that match if we're successful with the grant application. Certainly don't want to apply for something and have to turn it down.
Well, we were doing the emergency budget amendment. If we get it, hooray, if we do get it. That would be great if we got 250,000. That would be great.
Do you know if that's part of the criteria of the application? If you've got to show
You got to show
The
that you can
grant.
afford it.
is in the budget, okay.
I believe so. I mean, and that's a good point, Kim, that you may have to show that due diligence.
I know we
And our
did,
largest match up to date was the Cardiff, right, $500,000.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, it pays to have money in reserve, to where you can take advantage of those opportunities, and you really don't know the timing necessarily, of when they're coming. But we've talked about having projects on the shelf. Obviously, we know we want batting cages and bullpens. We know about what those costs are. But anyway.
Or, if council's considering a $100,000 application to at least, be able to show the 25% for $100,000.
I would really hate to leave grant money on the table, if we have access to it.
I'm still fine with leaving it out.
Is that the consensus?
I think
We
you've
move on?
already had three.
Yeah, we're at
so
three.
Okay.
Three for
Leaving it out.
leaving it at-
leaving it out. Okay, thank you.
All right, so any more questions on the general fund revenues? If not, we'll go on to the capital reserve, or reserve funds right fast. That won't take long. So let's go back to the expenditures. Page 47. And keep your thumb or fingers on page 59, that's the revenues for the reserves, and then page 47 is the expenditures, beginning with the reserves. So on page 59, the revenues for the capital reserve fund 30 is coming in at 51,000, and so the expenditures are totaling 51,000 on page 47. For the Park Reserve Fund 31, that's not showing balance right now because I need a tax rate, but it will have to balance. The amount on 47 is showing 82,000. That's with the part loan payment, and the 30,000 with those two projects is 82,000. So once we figure what the tax rate will be, then the revenues will equal 82,000 there.
So, we're still on 47, correct?
47, we can be.
Okay. It's still showing the 40K batting cage, so that number
No.
isn't,
Go to the next item down below, right below that.
oh, it says 0.
It was
Okay.
removed.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, and now public safety on page, we'll turn over to page 48, it's the expenditure. That's not changed of 360,000. So on page 61, the revenues for fund, public safety reserve fund 32 have also got to be 360,000, and they are. Any questions? That's all I have, other than direction on what tax rate. You can see the amount of revenues for all three. Refer you back to that page on 52.
So with the, I guess with the eye towards what our tax rate is going to be with the savings that we have discussed tonight, the reductions that we've discussed tonight, what tax rate would match that? I learned a lesson a couple of years ago. If you vote to adjust your tax rate, but you don't vote to adjust your budget accordingly, you go into your general fund pretty hard. And I don't want to repeat that. We can't cut our tax rate more than we've cut the expenses.
Right.
So what was do we have what that number would reflect?
I do not have a total of the cuts. I do not have that.
So I don't want to suggest a tax rate until I know what our reductions are. Because last time I recommended that there was a babe in the woods, I recommended that we do, I think it was a 5 cent or something like that, and we didn't adjust our budget accordingly, and we ate up our general fund, and I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, find out what the expenses are to determine the tax rate that matches accordingly.
Yeah, that was an expensive
I was right there with you.
education. And,
Do you want to reconsider the health insurance?
Yes. So, Mayor and Council, as you recall, Councilmember Jackson asked for, to defer the discussion about insurance, so,
just to give me a minute to think about it. I'm not saying we've got to wait another day.
I'm not suggesting that either, but I'm just reminding you that there's still that decision to make.
Gotcha. So y'all might have to educate me a little bit on this, because one of the benefits with working the DOD, if I need to get a toenail removed, it costs me $36. If I need to get an arm replaced, it costs me $36. So, you're gonna have to educate me on some of this stuff. So we're talking about, we pay 100% of what at the 80/20?
Of the insurance costs, there's still co-pays, there's still funds that come out of pocket to the employee,
Okay,
even at 100%.
all right, so 70/30. What are we talking about there? Are we're still
I mean,
paying?
at 70/30, let me defer to the.
There's a $2,570 difference to go from
Well,
80/20
I mean, that
to
doesn't, so at 70/30, we're still paying, what is it, 100? You really got to talk to me like I don't know what I'm talking about, because I don't.
Okay, so is your question, what is the premium? Is your question?
Probably the benefits.
Well, so,
Deductible is what would be
I hear we're paying all of something at the 80/20, that the town is.
What are we paying per employee?
It varies.
It's the monthly premium. Is that what you're asking?
I guess it is.
Yeah, it's just kind of like your car insurance.
Right.
If you've got whatever that premium is and you decide to pay it in 12 months, so much per month, that's what we pay for the health insurance is the
That's what the
monthly-
town
Yeah,
pays.
the town pays 100% of that monthly premium.
And the 80/20 is if you go to a doctor's office, you pay, the insurance pays 80 and the employee pays 20
After you hit a deductible.
after you hit a deductible. Okay. And then at 70/30, we're still paying the premium, the
We've never
town?
done the 70/30, but that would be an option that because the premium for the 70/30 is lower. So you pay that premium, but instead of the insurance company paying 70% or 80% of the cost, they would pay 70% and the employee 30%. But then they've got different out-of-pocket max. So once you hit, say, $5,000 a year, you don't pay anything on either policy.
So with the 70/30, I believe it was approximately $2,500 savings to the town for 6 months. There would be additional costs for the employee as well.
Gotcha. Okay.
If you switch from 80/20 to
But, so
70/30.
so our decision tonight, the 80/20 is still going to be good regardless for another 6 months until October, or whatever it is, December?
Until January 1st.
Oh, until January, okay. And then it would switch to the 70/30 then.
Depending on the decision of council. I mean, it doesn't have to change to 70/30. That was one of the options that council has discussed as a cost savings measure to decrease the cost.
It's a cost
So if we did
savings to the
80/20
town.
until January, and then it adjusts to 70/30 after January, is that an option?
That's an option the council has, yes, sir.
Okay.
That's one of the options.
It's a cost saving to the town, but it takes more money out of the employee's pockets.
Understand that.
And that would start in January. Let's say we were to do the 80/20, the out-of-pocket would be $66 to $160 for the employee,
If we did a cost share.
if
So-
we did a cost share.
So there'll be additional cost to the employee per, based on the insurance, in an event.
There you go. All right.
And to-
There's additional costs. If you do a cost share, that would cost the employee every month as well. Plus, if they go to if you don't change the insurance, it would still be 80/20. They would just pay the cost share portion. If you change to 70/30, they'll be paying the cost share portion plus an additional 10% more, and the deductibles will go up as well as the max rate.
So what is this cost share thing? I'm not,
And the co-pays would go up as well
In
for
most
office visits and so
instances,
forth.
It would double.
so, all right.
So what?
What is this cost share?
So the cost share is a concept that the state does that has been suggested that the council may want to adopt as a policy as well. So currently, state employees have to pay a portion of the premium for their health insurance. Currently, the town pays 100% of the cost of the premium.
But so maybe, if in January, if in January we adopted to go to the 70/30, would the town still be paying the 100% premium? Is that what we were talking about?
That could be an option, or you could still do a cost share. There's a lower premium rate that's the employee cost share portion that the state does for the 70/30.
So council has, some of the options have included multiple options, okay? One of the things is to adjust from 80/20 to 70/30 to save some cost. Another option is to require a cost share of the employees. Going to 70/30 doesn't require you to do a cost share. That's a
Gotcha.
policy decision that council would make.
I got you.
So it's a matter of the savings that you're trying to accomplish and the policy that you're trying to accomplish.
Got you.
Or, so council has communicated a desire to save costs where they can. Health insurance is a substantial cost. It's also a benefit that is important to employees as well. So we try to provide options and information. If there's other information that we can provide, we certainly want to
Okay.
try to help you with your decision.
So, well, I mean, I'd need to give a decision tonight, and I've reserved the right to be 100% right or wrong, or somewhere in between. I think the town should continue to pay like it does and not require a cost share. But I would be okay with switching to a 70/30 in January.
And just point of information, approximately $2,500 in savings for 6 months. And the employees would receive reduced benefits.
I understand.
Okay, just
Yeah.
point of information.
When I was in the private sector, I paid $300 a month for my insurance. I came out of pocket. When I was at WRL, I paid for my own insurance. MCI, I paid for my own insurance. So,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to keep it as it is and rediscuss it in the 27-28 budget.
Councilman Jackson, are you okay with that?
We're not paying that much for what it is.
Am I okay with,
Are you in agreement with Councilman Davis, what he just spoke?
well, I said what I would like.
Okay?
I don't know.
All right, so we have conflicting, so we have a choice with those two, potentially, or there might be another suggestion. Councilmember Eccles,
I agree with Jackson. I think 70-30.
Mayor Pro Tem Castleberry,
I say stay with the 80-20.
and Councilmember Bruton.
I'd say 70-30.
But to be clear, starting in January, it's not something starting, we're doing the 80-20.
Because open enrollment is in October, so the current policy goes into effect into the end of the year.
Okay.
And that is 70-30 with the town paying for 100% of premiums.
Yes.
I'm good with that.
Well, now, along with that, I mentioned something last meeting we had. I would like us to have some sort of policy on when we make things like this occur, differentiating between on-board and oncoming employees. I don't know how difficult that would make things for the HR, but I mean, that's my opinion. I would like to see that occur.
I personally think insurance is a big important part of people that work here, and we start deducting from their insurance, it's going to be an undermining to the town of Archer Lodge. But
Miss Cynthia, do you have, in regarding to Mr. Jackson's suggestion, any comments about putting such a policy in practice as far as grandfathering current employees?
No, not at all. I will say this, though. Down the road, what we can say is, as of this date, once it's adopted, as of this date going forward, employees hired on or before the date of the adoption, that the benefits, but we need to be clear about the language. Are we going to say the benefits are going, or the health insurance will be paid in full by the town? Or, we need to be very specific about that language.
Yeah, and I'm sure of that, and that's not something I think we're going to settle tonight, but that's something that I would like to see. I think that would be, there's a difference between fair and just, and sometimes you can accomplish both. I think we need to establish something that holds it so that we can be both fair and just.
Ms. Cynthia, so to Mr. Jackson's query, could council have a policy where current employees could receive 80-20, and then new hires after July 1st could get 70-30, both being paid by 100% by the town? That's an option,
Yes.
correct? Yes.
I don't agree with that, simply because we were told last week or week before that we're tied into the health insurance plan for the state forever. So whatever premium they would charge would be what we would have to pay, and we couldn't shop around for other options. And as everybody knows, health insurance is just going up, up, and up, and we don't know what financially, feasibly, the town can pay for. And then, I worry too about morale. You've got some employees getting certain benefits and other employees getting maybe not so good benefits.
Well,
I think it should be the same across the board.
Well, I mean, that's not something we're gonna settle tonight. That we've made our choice for tonight, but that is something that I would like to talk about.
That's very common
in the
practice,
future.
in the private sector. I mean, it's very, very common. I've experienced that myself.
So, Mayor and Council, I believe where we are at is, I believe Ms. Kim has provided some updated numbers. There's some additional numbers that she needs to develop, and then bring that back to council, for review and establishment of certain decisions such as the tax rate. So, that's going to require another meeting. So what is your pleasure in regards to that? Your options are to establish another meeting or continue this meeting to a date and time certain.
Was this meeting billed as a work session?
It's a work session, and you all don't.
So it can't be continued, so it would need to be a special call
I would advise you
meeting.
all do a special meeting, and just for information's sake, you need 48 hours notice for that, so just keep that in mind as you look at your calendars.
And also would need to give Kim enough time to do the work on top of her normal duties, and I don't know if 48 hours would be sufficient, quite frankly. I can't speak for her, but 48 hours is not much time to make the adjustments necessary on top of her normal duties, which includes payroll this week.
I think we discussed the 23rd at our last one, because Clyde, you won't be here on the 22nd, correct?
We did talk about the 23rd. Is the 23rd okay with everyone?
I can do the 23rd.
That works for me.
But I want something on the 23rd. Just to be clear about the 23rd, there's not a lot of time for discussion on that. And the 23rd needs to be a vote. And in my opinion, it needs to be a vote only. No, I'm only one of five on that, but
I agree, Councilman Jackson. I think that there's been a lot of discussion and
There has
a lot
been.
of activity on it. I think, one more meeting should take care of it. We should not be coming back here on Tuesday the 30th trying to hash out details and go line by line.
that'd be good, because I wouldn't be here that day.
Excuse me, Mayor. Just for clarification's sake, without Marcus here to ask for clarification, and for the purpose of the minutes, I want to confirm you all are talking about 6:30 PM on the 23rd, right? I've heard no mention of time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Is that a conflict with anybody?
Not with me.
Ms. Kim, do you feel like that gives sufficient time to make the adjustments and calculations?
I'll do my best.
Okay.
He won't speak up, but I'll speak up for him. He'll miss a birthday celebration. Our son's birthday is tonight, and we put it off till next week because he had a meeting tonight, and now we're scheduling another one on the day of the assignment. That's okay. Community first, family second.
Hopefully, that's going to be a short meeting. Okay? Sounds like advertising on the 23rd.
I do have one more other request. In your, it had nothing to do with budget, the auditor has requested fraud questionnaires to be completed and to email them directly to him. And you should have the forms in your folder.
Yeah, I filled mine out.
You talking about the fraud risk factors? The fraud risk
Yes,
factors?
fraud questionnaire.
So
He wants those emailed?
Or mailed, hard copy. I mean,
Yeah.
he said in his email to send them directly to him.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, that brings us to item number 5, new business. We're at 9:30. I mean, I don't know how the rest of the council feels. I almost feel like we need to table these, personally. Is there anyone that has I understand. Why don't you go ahead and give us the opening, Mr. David, as to why they were on there? And just so we can kind of get that perspective, and then council can make a decision.
So, Mayor and Council, Mayor and Council, staff is asking for policy direction regarding 2 things. First of all, regulation of alcohol sales, distribution, and use on town property. Secondly, regulation of firearms on town property. Currently, there is no prohibition about alcohol use on town property. Most municipalities do not allow alcohol particularly at parks on town property, unless they have a process where you can get a special permit, special event permit. Currently, Mr. Chris can provide some information. Alcohol is being used at the park. There are empty containers that are being found at the park all the time. It would be helpful to be able to have an established policy of the town so that we can put signage on there to inform the public about what the policy is. And then if you want to consider a special permit for special events, then that's something that we can develop as well. Regulation of firearms, again, there is no policy about firearms on town property. The town does have a firearms ordinance. It is limited to the discharge of firearms in the town limits. It does not speak to the carrying of firearms on town property. So at town hall, at the town park, concealed carry is permitted. Open carry is permitted because there's no policy against it. So what staff is asking for is direction. Do you want to establish limitations on firearms so that most towns either prohibit everything except for concealed carry, or prohibit all firearms, particularly on town parks? That's simply what we're asking, is direction on those 2 items. And we'll be happy to develop any policy accordingly, but I would suggest council provide direction to staff, and then we can work with the attorney to develop the policy accordingly.
I would also add, when you're deliberating, that you consider your liabilities, because it is town property. Then we are required to protect those people that are on our property. And so at least have something that says that you can't, if that's the route that you go, because then you can have proper signage. But in the event something should occur, the question is going to be, what did the town do to prevent this?
So, again, based on that, on town liability, I would respectfully request direction from council as far as policy or direction. And again, we can draft something and then bring it back to council as early as possible.
Would council like staff to draft policies for consideration, future consideration?
Yeah, for the alcohol stuff, I think that'd be fine. For the firearm stuff, I thought once upon a time ago, we just more or less said we're gonna reflect what the county did, because they'd be our law enforcement anyway. And so whatever that might be a good format to look at, or, you know. So it
Yeah, I know
wouldn't be
we-
too difficult for,
We had a lot of conversations about not allowing it in the town hall. And I think the consensus was at the time with the previous council was not to, because to me, if you don't allow it, you're going to have to advertise it, and it's like a gun-free place, which to me is almost an invitation for somebody to come in here with a gun, and
That's true,
we
we
don't
did
have,
that.
we
That's
don't
right.
have self-protection because we're going to obey by the law and not have any sort of gun, and then I just, the state law requires people to have that concealed carry permit to conceal carry a gun, so I think that suffices. That's
true,
just my
we did
personal
say that.
opinion, because
My first opinion, children and alcohol and guns, not in the same place. These parks are open to the public. I stop there many times every week. There's people out there walking, playing in playgrounds, everything, every time I go by there. And I just don't think alcohol ought to be allowed on town property. I know I'm not against guns, but I am in public places. Now, I do know Clayton, if they have a special event where somebody wants to sell beer or have a party with beer, they have to hire 2 policemen to be on the property the whole time. And most time that gun, if they got guns, they make them put them in their trunks, lock them up. But I know you go to get a concealed weapon, but, half the shootings in the country come from somebody with a concealed weapon, a carry permit. But
So just for clarification, Mayor Pro Tem Castleberry, it would be either open carry or concealed
Right.
you would be opposed to.
Yep.
I think we need to talk about that one a bit more, but the alcohol one.
I would hate, personally, I would hate for us to see a sign on Town Hall, saying that, I think having that element of doubt, is a benefit. I'd have to think about open carry at the park, or,
You have to realize if you're doing a baseball, if you're having a baseball game and I'm walking up and I have a weapon on my hip, it's really not a good sign. It's not showing that I'm here. I mean, I'm watching my kid, but I'm protecting myself as well.
Yeah.
But is it a good optic to be at the park?
yeah.
If you got a weapon on your side, you're looking for trouble.
I mean, it's happened, like we've had it at our ball games and parties, like it's happened, but I just.
And you're talking about open carry?
Open carry, correct, open carry. Of course, with concealed, I don't know if you're carrying or not, but with open carry, I've seen a gun on a parent's hip. But we just don't have the policies and procedures to be like, I can't tell them to do anything with that.
Well, so for full transparency, I do think that, we owe staff some, direction on that and clarification. But I don't think we're gonna solve those tonight. Yep.
Mayor, and we're not asking for the council to adopt a policy, we're asking for direction. Would it be acceptable for staff to adopt, not to adopt, would it be acceptable for staff to draft in, a policy for council to consider to prevent open carry at the park, and then a policy to prevent the use of alcohol, on town facilities?
I would be personally fine with that on both counts.
Can we?
I'd like to
Rest of
see,
council.
a special permit for alcohol sales and use in the park.
so it would be allowed under special cases.
Some events, they sell alcohol, they have alcohol, it could happen down the road.
We can certainly draft that as a separate option as well.
Okay.
If
Any
that's,
other council members want to share their thoughts?
And we'll definitely take a look at what you draft, because like you said, people are doing it anyway. We need to have a policy.
There are empty alcohol containers at the park after games.
I know there's been some empty alcohol containers on our property, but it was probably put down there at nighttime or sometime or another when somebody was down there and set it out in the car or whatever. You know, you can't stop them. I can't stop the ones throwing them in my ditch in the front of my house, you know. But, you just have to deal with it. They're gonna do it. They wanna do it.
If there's consensus on those items, then council staff will move forward with developing draft policies for council to consider.
It sounds like, yes, correct. I was fitting to say, that sounds like the consensus. Okay. All right. That brings us to adjournment. We are adjourned. Thank you.